The Dior Jordan 1s is one of the most beautiful shoes to come out in recent years, and they go for big money. I'm Vick Almighty, and you guys know I do restorations and customs, but this right here is not a custom. This is gonna need a restoration miracle. The damage on the toe box is truly heartbreaking. Now the story on this shoe is, my good friend that I'm not gonna name was removing the yellowing off the soles. He was using Sole Revive. He taped off the uppers to not let any Sole Revive leak onto the uppers. Good idea, however, he left the tape on there for way too long, a few days. He even used the right tape, the stuff that's not too sticky. After a few days, when it was time to remove the tape, something happened and the tape completely removed that top layer of leather. It's not too bad on this shoe, it's just one little spot. On this one is way worse. You got it on the white. He left a piece of tape on this toe box because he knows the damage is gonna be really bad. I'm gonna try my best to remove it to not make it worse, but the damage is done. Like I mentioned, the shoe goes for big money, upwards of $7,000 to $10,000. If I can't get this looking right, my friend is gonna be in big trouble. Let's see what we can do. Now, before we get started, these shoes are 100% authentic. There's a lot of fakes out there, so watch out. This pair right here is number 719 out of 8,500. At the end, I'll show you guys all the close-up details of these shoes. First step in this process is to rip the band-aid off, carefully. We're gonna use a little bit of heat to heat it up, and then we're just gonna carefully remove the entire piece of tape. Hopefully the damage isn't worse. The peeling of the tape went as bad as it can go. Underneath, all the leather is completely off. We're left with a really soft but rough texture. The next task is to stop the peeling. All around the leather is completely peeling off. I can sit here for the next 30 minutes to an hour and just peel off all the leather to the point where I'm left with this texture. I don't want to do that. It's not as simple as laying down new paint over that. The texture is really rough. So you can see the rest of the leather is buttery smooth. I got to get this area looking like the rest. If I peel all of it off, it's gonna be impossible to get it smooth again. So what I'm thinking about doing is getting some glue with a little brush. I'm gonna get a little bit of the glue underneath the peeling of the leather. I'm gonna seal it down, and that should do the trick for now. Good to go with the glue. It definitely helped with the peeling. It looks pretty rough as is, but it's part of the process. Next, I'm gonna tape off the rubber sole just in the front areas. After that, I'm gonna use some Angelus Leather Filler. I'm gonna mix it up real good, and then with a spatula, I'm gonna lay down a thin, even layer all around. The only areas that I gotta watch out for is the stitching and the holes on the toe box. All right, leather filler's been applied. I'm gonna let it dry for about 24 hours so I could come back, sand, and then reapply. All right, guys, it's been about 24 hours since I laid down the first coat of leather filler. Letting it dry as long as possible is very important so it can adhere properly onto the leather. As of right now, it's pretty rough. I have to go in with some 800 grit sandpaper and sand it back and forth. Two things, I gotta be very careful and not cause more damage to the delicate leather. If I go in too rough, it'll cause some peeling and that'll just make things worse. The second thing is, I gotta be very careful and stay away from the stitching. That'll cause the material to fray. Good to go with the sanding. On the toe box, however, I'm gonna have to go in and strip the entire thing. It's just gonna be a lot easier that way. It's really tough to get in this area with the sanding and leather filler. Plus, it just keeps on peeling. So I'm gonna remove the shoelaces and with the sandpaper, finish removing the white paint on the toe box. After about 45 minutes of sanding, that's as good as it's gonna get for now. It's just like a car. When it comes to bodywork, you gotta lay down the filler, sand, lay down the filler, sand. It's a repetitive process. To get it as smooth as possible, you just have to keep on going. So for this next step is to lay down more leather filler. Originally, I was gonna remove all the white paint from the toe box, but I stopped doing so right when it got to that area because the paint stopped peeling with the sandpaper. I did a good job blending it in, so when I lay down some paint, you won't be able to see the harsh line. Now I'm gonna lay down some more leather filler and let it dry for another several hours. All right, guys, it's day number 3. I'm still trying to fix this issue. Last night I left off with laying down the second coat of leather filler. This morning it's all dried, ready to go. It's looking a lot smoother compared to the first coat. I still have to go in and sand it down. This time I'm gonna be using some finer sandpaper, 1500 grit. Once again, I'm gonna be going back and forth. I gotta avoid the stitching. I also still have to work on this area right here to get it nice and smooth. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lay down some more leather filler. We'll see when we get there. The second session of sanding is complete. After doing that, I feel so much better about this project. It's looking really good. I would say it's about 85–90% there. There are still some imperfections. I'm gonna go in with some leather filler once again to remove them. Hopefully, after I sand it this time, we're good to go after that. I'm really close just by feeling it. It's really smooth. Right now I'm using 2000 grit sandpaper. I'm going back and forth until it's as perfect as possible. In just a bit, we'll lay down some paint. All right, after 3 days of sanding, I think I'm done. This is super smooth, it looks perfect. However, there is a couple different colors on the toe box right now. It messes with your eye. It's kind of hard to see the imperfections if there's still any. So what I'm gonna do is lay down some flat white paint on the toe box and the toe cap. Just wanna lay down a couple of coats, nice and neat. After that, I'll let it dry and I should be able to see if I should add some more leather filler. After laying down the white, I can tell that there's no imperfections. I'm happy with how this looks. Now the next part is the tough part. We gotta mix the gray for the leather. I've never mixed the gray for the Dior ones, so it's gonna be my first time doing so. I went to my wall of paints and got the closest colors needed for this project. And finally, we gotta use some Angelus Leather. This is gonna help remove the shine from the paint. Looking closely at the gray and the white, there is zero shine to it, so this is gonna help it get it nice and matte. We're really close. At this point, it's just adding some grays, whites until I get the perfect tone. This part can be tedious and it can take hours. All right, good to go. After 1 hour, we got the perfect mix. Let me run down the colors that I used for this mix. I started off with some mist and added a couple of drops of blue. When I tested it on the shoe, it was way too blue. So then I brought in some light gray into the mix to bring it back to the gray side. It was still pretty off. When I look closer at the leather, I can see there's a pinkish hue to it. So I added some magenta to it. After that, I tried it once again. It was still pretty off. It was way too pink. This is where I brought in the bone gray, but it was still way too pink. Luckily, my videographer knows a thing or two about colors. I was trying to cancel out the pink. She mentioned when it comes to color theory, green is the opposite color of pink. So I added 3 drops of green to the mix, and honestly, that solved the issue. It was a little bit too shiny, added the duller, and got the perfect tone. All right, I think the color mix is on point. All I used was white, cream, and vanilla with a little bit of duller. I'm gonna start laying it down. If it's off, I'll lay down some more white or vanilla. Paint job's good to go. This took a few hours to get on point, but it looks great. Last thing we gotta do is to tape up the shoe so we can go outside and lay down some matte finisher. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so happy that I'm done with the leather filler, sanding, and the paint. This took 3 days worth of work to get it to this point. I was starting to lose my mind with all the leather filler that I was laying down. Last step we gotta do is to lace it up. Good to go with this restoration, you guys. This is one of those projects where I'm just happy it's over. I spent 4 days fixing the toe boxes. Even getting the color match on point for the white and gray took several hours. I'm really happy with how this restoration turned out. It's almost flawless, but again, I'm just glad this project is over. When it comes to a specific restoration on these shoes, it required a lot of patience and pure finesse. If you guys ever work on these shoes, keep in mind they're very delicate. They are premium designer shoes, but that doesn't mean they use high quality materials. Yes, they feel good. Yes, they look amazing, but when it comes to restoring them and cleaning them, it can be very dangerous. So keep in mind, take a lot of caution when working on these expensive shoes. You don't want to be like my friend and potentially ruin some $10,000 sneakers. As a token of my appreciation, for those of you who stuck around to the very end of this video, I got a special discount code for you guys. Use Dior30 to save 30% off your next order at Reshoevn8r.com. This code is only good for 24 hours, Dior30. Now, before I leave you guys, we're in the middle of our August giveaway. This month, we're giving away the Reimagine pack. We're gonna have 4 lucky winners. Each winner will receive one of the pairs from the pack. To enter, it's super easy. You gotta subscribe to Reshoevn8r and comment down below which of these shoes you wanna win with your size. Giveaway ends at the end of the month. Good luck, everyone. This is Vick Almighty. I'll catch you guys on Monday. See you guys.